All right, we're live. We'll give people like 30 seconds to hop on if they're late. Sorry guys, we had a little technical difficulties. This is not easy. I don't know if any of you guys back there know how to work this. Please let me know so we can start doing this better in the future, because man, this stuff's hard. Let's see. We'll wait a little bit, have people hop on, because I know this is going to be a popular thing for us. I think that's enough time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Two Feathers Youth Engagement Series. I am your host, Chris, here with my two co-hosts, Amada, and replacing Charlie this week, I have Ellen. Start off, how are you guys doing today? How are you guys dealing with everything that's going on? Amada, I'll start with you.
Thanks for asking, Chris. It's going good. Sunny day. I've gotten to go out in the sun a little bit in the yard and hang out. So it's been going good. And I've been seeing some more positive stuff flowing on the social media since we're on social media now. So it's been going good in that aspect too. And just trying to limit the time I'm doing both. So for school as well, because I've been in statistics a lot. So that's it for me right now.
Amada, how are you doing? I mean, Ellen, how are you doing?
I've been doing good. Just trying to de-stress as much as I can and be the best help that I can be and learn things and talk to my kids as much as I can. So just trying to do as much as I can with what I have right now.
Perfect. Same. I'm trying to get all the information I can about what's going on and kind of de-stress while also staying active. So I'm glad you guys are doing that. We have a very special guest with us today, Ms. Rosemary Grady. If you want to talk a little about yourself and talk about what you're doing right now, and then see how you're doing with everything that's going on as well. So everybody say hello to Rosemary Grady.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Rosemary Grady. I'm 25 years old. I'm Mexican, Puerto Rican, and Black, and I moved up here to Humboldt County in 2013, so I've been here for about 7 years now. I've been an active member, of the community since, I was attending HSU, and I'm, currently enrolled at CR, trying to pursue a degree in elementary education. I'm working as the director of the after-school program at Peninsula Union, providing, guidance to those kids there through restorative justice practices and equity values. And, I've been trying to practice self-care as well through, I deactivated some of my social media because of the, those images that are being, passed around virally. And I think it's really important for the Black and Brown community who not only live this experience and, have generational trauma, but to step away from that as well. And take time. I went to the river yesterday and had some, I felt really healed. I got to dive in the river and jump off some rocks and ask Oshun to cleanse me. So that was really healing. And I'm really excited to be a part of this platform that creates and facilitates these conversations that are difficult for the youth. And I think that it's important that we continue to have these conversations with the youth because they know what's going on, they see what's going on, and they look to us to provide information. And even if you don't have all the answers, it's good to be honest and be like, I don't know, but I will find an answer for you. And to just continue those conversations that are really difficult to have.
Thank you. We are extremely excited to have you on here. And I know this is a time of trying to figure out what is going on, time of of unrest in our country. And I know that this is going to be a particularly not really a traumatic concept, but it is a something that needs to be talked about and something that I think that we have a platform to talk about. So I'm glad you're on here with us. Start off with the first question is I brought you on here because I found out what you've been doing with the protests and the response to the killing of George Floyd. So I hope you can talk about that and how that's kind of bringing our community together and how important that is to get that out there.
Thank you. So yes, I had seen the call of action through the Humboldt Grassroots Organization for the protest on Saturday. And so me and a group of comrades went to those protests, and I've been involved in other protests. I've been fighting for justice for Josiah for the last 3 years since he was murdered here in Arcata. I've been involved at HSU and helped coordinate a Black Lives Matter movement there when Eric Garner was murdered. I've been active, at City Hall meetings, and we, and my cohorts shut down a City Hall meeting in response to their neglect in the Justice for Josiah case. So me and my comrades had went out Saturday and were really unimpressed is not even it was grossly unorganized by the Humboldt Grassroots Organization, who put out a call of action and had over 1,000 people of interest on their Facebook profile. You can see how many people are interested, who shared it, who's attending. So that organization knew that they had a large number of people who were going to attend. And as an organization, you have to have some form of leadership and intention behind a protest. And I understand that organization, Humboldt Grassroots, is an anarchist type of organization. And it was really scary to see that so many Black and brown bodies has showed up, to voice that their frustrations and their anger, and that it was very, very disorganized and dangerous for the Black and brown community. There were no medic tents available. There was no strategic marching. There was no one destination. Most of the time, our protesters were split up in multiple groups, making it very unsafe. There were multiple protesters who were hit by cars, and my friends, ended up having to step up and de-escalate situations between angry pedestrians and angry motorists. And, my friends had to de-escalate a situation of a pedestrian who had a gun, who was very, angry at people for protesting. And after going through that experience and coming back and, debriefing with my comrades and my cohorts and my friends who are also Black, Indigenous people of color here local to the area, or, our transplants who have attended HSU and since graduated, we felt it was our obligation to organize ourselves within a matter of, a couple hours, because Humboldt Grassroots had made another call of action for the very next day on Sunday to have another protest. So we felt that it was important for us to reach out to our friends of Humboldt Mutual Aid to provide a medical aid tent. We thought that was important for there to be, food at these things for people who, are, who have diabetes or low blood sugar, or, whatever. If you're out there protesting and you're walking and, there's so many things that could go wrong, and it's just important to be safe than to be sorry. And so we just felt that was our obligation to provide safety for our people. And so that's how we kind of came together to help bring leadership to the protest on Sunday. And so we wanted to have a vigil. We wanted to have two. We wanted to open with a few words from the community. My personal friend and the co-creator of Black Humble spoke, and we had a land acknowledgement that wasn't acknowledged on Saturday. The fact that we are on looted land, we're on stolen land, we're on land. All these things are very important to us. Having, like a medical tent and food for people and information and resources. And, we were met with some oppositional energy, but for the most part, a lot of people saw our vision and understood what we were trying to do. We were trying to honor and mourn and create space and healing for the Black and Brown community that are brutalized by the police state, who have never been protected by the police state, who have always been, murdered by the police state and brutalized. And, I just ended up stepping in the position. I had agreed to open up the moment of silence. We did a 10-minute moment of silence for over the 8 minutes that the police officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck, causing him to suffocate and die. So we had a moment of silence, and we had an intentional march planned for us to march to the police department and demand that they demilitarize their police, that they turn in their guns. And unfortunately for us, there were people who wanted to have a conversation with the police, and not that those conversations aren't necessary, but it was our time, to voice our frustrations. And I felt that it was a photo opportunity for the police officers, because they do brutalize our community. There are people here in Arcata who were murdered by the police. I've had friends who were harassed. I personally have been harassed by the police here in Humboldt County. So I do not trust them, and I do not believe that they actually want to change internally in their organization. Not that we can't have hope, that they do, and that there are people who are trying to, create change, but that it is a lot, and it's not just a promise or a "we are with you," it is action that we need to see from the police force. So after, our trip to the EPD, and we saw that they were out there already waiting for us with cameras, and, that it was like a photo op for them, we decided that it was time for us to leave, go back to the courthouse, have more people in the community speak about their personal experiences before closing with another moment of silence for George Floyd. And, I've, a lot of people reach out to me. It's just like, thank you for your leadership. And it's just like, I came together with a group of friends and comrades and other Black Indigenous POC who were really disturbed by what happened on Saturday and didn't want to see any other people hurt. So that was our necessary, our obligation was to our people to make sure that no one was hurt. And unfortunately on Sunday, one of our friends was wrongfully arrested and charged with a felony. And he was there, as a medical aid to de-escalate situations. And it's just really frustrating that, these police officers, when the sun is out and the cameras are out, are here saying, we're here with you, we hear you. And then when there are people voicing their anger and their frustrations, that is valid, there is no more room for conversation. At that point, it's brutal force and it's tactical. And I have friends with welts on them, from the pepper bullets that they sprayed into the crowd. I had friends who were recording it, who, had their hands up. It's like, hands up, don't shoot. And then they shoot into the crowd. So when you have, when you are using brutal tactical force against a crowd of people, when you were just earlier hand in hand with them saying, we're here with you, we hear you, and then you can't have a conversation to de-escalate the valid anger that people are feeling. That's how I don't trust like what they're saying, because actions speak louder than words, and their actions were that of the actions that we've been seeing, where these cops are coming into peaceful protests and shooting into crowds, driving into crowds. Like, it's really disturbing, and it's really frustrating. And we did our best to try to protect our friends in our community, and we understood that there were people who were going to stay behind to the very end to de-escalate the situation. But I just want to say to the police force that I teach kids. I have 5-year-old kids that have better conflict resolution skills than they do, and that they really need to invest, instead of military grade guns and armor and riot gear, they need to invest in conflict resolution and de-escalation skills and learn how to communicate.
Yeah, I agree. Conflict resolution is like number one thing you learn as a child. And I'm a child development major and NES major, so I do know that our kids do get taught conflict resolution and using our words. And people have emotions and feelings, and they're valid, and we're all humans, and that's something that everyone should have on the back of their minds, but it's not there.
I can agree to that too. I think that wholeheartedly there are good cops and the bad cops, but you can't say like the saying of like try to tell. I don't know. It's not, I don't want to put sayings out there. I just think it's kind of just simple talking and figuring things out. And I work with kids too, and even kids that are on like experience different disabilities and stuff like that. So I really have to work through stuff sometimes. And so I think just working with kids, you can take a lot away from that, at least in my perspective. I personally haven't dealt with the police brutality, but I've seen both sides of it. And it is hard because I do have friends whose parents are in the like CHP officers or police officers, and then, or people that are relatives who were in the police, and it's, so a lot of people have different viewpoints from different police forces, but I do think too that different forces are also stronger than other ones in different areas too, like the police brutality here. And I think here it was nice to see the way that they were being so approachable and being able to do that, but I do see the photo opportunity in that. I think that's something to bring in a sense too, because a lot of people, like there was one I saw with like Blantley, like they're just posing, and I don't think that's like, I know it could be looked in a wrong light if they didn't want to take pictures with somebody too. So I think both ways it can go, but I also do see like it shouldn't be necessarily used as that. It should just be talk about the situation, get the job done. And I think I did see Rosemary I was watching the live, and I think you were the one who walked up to the microphone and actually was like, we're going to the courthouse right now, and this is happening, and this is going on, when they were just talking back and forth. And you like literally just came right in there. And so I was like, yes, we're going back to the situation. Like, we don't need to hear the discourse kind of in the middle. I think that's a huge thing. And I was going to school as well with Josiah, and when that was happening, and friends who knew him. And so I think my question to you is for this, in a sense, of how do you feel it would be a good approach? Because it's a tough situation, even just get out there and protest what you want to stand for and believe in. Because once you're in that, you have the photos, you have the things, you're taking a ground, you're taking a stance for it. And I think that's, sometimes you have to find that within yourself. What do I believe in? What do I take a stance in? And so what is your advice to kids out there? I think of all ages in a sense, because we work with a variety of kids here at Two Feathers, but what would you give them to get out there and do this, to get a grounding in there? Because I know this topic too is very deep as well. So I just would like to hear your insight on that.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a really great question for the youth as they're discovering their voices and who they want to be. I want to pose that question of like, who do you see yourself as? What kind of person do you want to be in the world? Do you want to be someone who stands up for what is not right? You know, a lot of our kids deal with bullying, and a lot of kids who will participate in the bullying also get bullied. And so it's understanding to know that hurt people will hurt people, but you have to find the power within yourself, the strength that you have to be a better person than maybe what your circumstances have given you. I personally was raised in a house of abuse and alcoholism, so I know how hard it is to decondition yourself from the environment in which you were lived and raised in. I've been, healing on a healing journey for the last 7 years. I moved out of the house of abuse, and I think it's really important for our youth to understand that at any point and at any time and any choice you make, you have the power to rewrite your story. You have the power to make a different choice. You're not forced into anything, that you have the ability to do whatever you believe is right. And I, think about just, our core values of like, we live on this earth, we are from this earth, we have to protect this earth, we protect the inhabitants of this earth, whether that is an animal or a human or the ocean, like we have to come together to protect all life. And I feel like when people say all life matters, they don't understand that all life isn't being threatened right now. Black lives are the ones being brutalized. Indigenous lives are the ones that are being brutalized. Brown lives are the ones that are being brutalized. And when you say all life matters, you are not focusing on the fact that Black lives are the ones who need the attention, the care, the support the most, because they are 3 times more likely to be brutalized by the police force than a white person is. So I think regarding the youth and their finding their voice, just echoing the question of like, what kind of person do you want to be? And at any point in time, you have the power to be that person.
I like that. Rosemary, I really appreciated how you and your friends or your comrades went and took leadership and took the voice to the Black and brown people that need it most. And you went and did a separate protest, and you made it safe, and you made it what it should be. And you took the power away from the people that shouldn't have had it, and maybe you're just like born to be a leader, but this is a question for you. How can our youth engage in being in a protest safely, and how can they also be an ally as a youth, because us adults, we kind of have a better grasp on that, but yeah.
I think that there are rules for engagement in a protest, whether you are a youth or an adult. I would say, first and foremost, to have a buddy system, to never go alone, to always have a group of people that you feel safe with, that you have eyes on at all times. Because things can get, like we witnessed Saturday, things can get really, really chaotic really fast. And even if people have the best intention, if there's not organization, if there's not intention behind what we are doing, it could just seem chaotic. And if we want the most people to listen to us and understand, because that's what the movement needs, it needs more people listening to the voices of Black people who are living this experience, who are voicing their frustrations and have been voicing their frustrations since the 60s, since beyond that, since the Civil War, like since they were stolen from their land, understanding that generational trauma is very much real, that we have the pain of our ancestors in our blood already. I would say finding your voice, but also doing your research. like finding organizations, not just like clicking and sharing what you think your friends are sharing, but like doing your research on the organizations and the people in leadership and see if you align with their personal values and their core values. I think that's really important, especially in the age of social media, where we could just look at this and click and share and share without actually reading what we're sharing. And I think that's something that's really important, is to, if you're sharing an article, what are the sources the article is, sourcing? Like, who is the one who wrote the article? If there's multiple writers of the article, like, do you know what each individual, what community they come from, or what voice that they're echoing? I think that's really important. Asking questions, especially towards the youth, like for the youth, asking questions, asking hard questions, asking questions that make you uncomfortable, that make your parents uncomfortable, that make the community uncomfortable. Because as much as these conversations make us uncomfortable, it's extremely uncomfortable for the Black and Brown people who are living this experience. And if we can all understand that, just by communicating, listening, educating ourselves, and not expecting Black and Brown folks to do the educating, because we're tired. We are living this experience. We are triggered by the violence that we see on social media, on these viral platforms. You have to take initiative and accountability for your own education. And so not just reaching out to your one Black friend that you know and asking them a million questions, but taking that initiative to do your research, I think is really important. If you are a youth and you're wanting to be a leader or be more involved in the movement, doing your research is key.
Yeah. On that topic, you know how history books and whatnot teach us like the dominant narrative? Do you have any kind of lessons that you do in after school that kind of like combats that, or do you have any suggestions to talk with the kids? Should we be blunt and honest, or what do you think?
I think that condensing information so that it is bite-sized for the youth to understand is important. Not overwhelming them, because these topics are overwhelming. And, most times I feel like I want to shut down and not have these conversations. But I know that I have the responsibility to organize and, educate. And, that's what I want to do. That's why I'm in the educational system. That's why I want to be a teacher. So I am currently learning from the Yurok people. I was invited to do a program that they're hosting, and it's it was supposed to start back in the spring, but it got pushed because of COVID-19. But it's through the Yurok people. They are teaching educators how to incorporate Native American stories, and not like the general narrative that we hear, but like real stories from Native people. And I'm just gonna get the textbook that I got. But it's, yeah, a journey toward healing.
Part of that.
Yeah, that's Ellen. I can't wait to read. I just got it. I purchased it myself because I know the proceeds go back into the community, so that's really important. But I would say reaching out to the community whose voices you want to hear from. Like not just the general narrative of the history. Yeah. But the voices who have been silenced by that history. We all have our books.
I would grab mine, but it's in the house.
but yeah, I'm excited to learn more from the people and how I can educate, our youth. And I think that it's important to have resources that, come from the Black community, stories that come from the Black community, stories that come from the Native community, and using those as our textbooks when we're educating our youth about the narratives that we have and our personal experiences.
Yeah, during that project, I was a part of the photo project, and it was generational. So we would have the different generations teaching each other within the photo project, and we would go to a certain spot, take pictures, but also talk about that place and the story that relates to it. And so I think that's kind of like what you're getting at, is like telling the real stories of from Black and brown people to kind of combat like the dominant narrative and like the white narrative.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that book because it's impacted not only my life but all of our lives so much. And if Keishan is watching this, hi Keishan, I miss you.
Hi, Keishan.
But I'm glad you brought up our stories because something I've always tried to do in my life as a Black and a Native person is bring those communities together, bring those stories together. And I find that teaching education correctly, our Black and Native education correctly, is a big part of that. And also having that those leaders who are Black, who are Native, and I'm glad you brought up both those things. And you are definitely one of those leaders, and everybody here is one of those leaders. So my my last kind of question, because I know that we don't have much time on this, I'm sorry, but the last kind of question I have for you is like, what can you tell kids that want to get involved, that want to be leaders, that want to learn about themselves? What do you think that first step is in becoming that leader or becoming that person that that you are, that we are, that they can look up to?
I think the most important thing to do is to be vulnerable with yourself and unpack maybe your biases and your prejudices and those conditioning that maybe you have been through, especially if you're a white body living in Humboldt County, local, born and raised here. Understanding that you live on looted land, that you live on stolen land, that this is the Wiat people's land. And I would say that is the first step, is just holding the mirror, looking in the mirror and understanding how we got here. Whether you're a white body, a Native body, a Black body, a Puerto Rican body, understanding your experience and your ancestral experience and the responsibility that you have to your ancestors and to the community members around you. Being brave is really scary. As I was looking around and at my comrades and I saw that they were exhausted and none of them wanted to lead Sunday, I was like, all right, I guess here I am. It's scary to step into these leadership positions and you might not want to do that, but we have the responsibility. And I would just say to go bravely and courageously and righteously and with the most genuine heart into the direction of, what we know to be right. We know that killing is wrong. We know that people who murder people deserve to face justice. And so just that basic principle and understanding how the police state is being paid to do this to Black and brown communities, understanding and just unpacking. And it's years and years and years of unpacking that we have to do, but it's important that we continue to do this so that we don't repeat the mistakes that we made. We don't repeat our history, that we could look to the future and understand that if we want to save the earth, if we want to save each other, if we want to fight for equity, that we need to understand history, and not just the white dominant narrative, but the history of Native people, of Black people, of undocumented people, of, you know, the marginalized communities that are silenced by the dominant narrative.
Thank you for that. And I think it's awesome that you can kind of bring it well-rounded circle with, because I have also had Kishan as a professor too. So I think all three of us actually have, as well as Ellen. We all have their own personal relationships too. So thank you for bringing that to light. And I think that's something like Nate. I don't like bringing races into it or just even anything, because we're all people of color, but I think Natives can feel that, and that's what we have that connection to. And I think that's something just to bring to light too, in the sense of having kids feel empowered, because that's what empowers me, is I see other people sticking up for what their culture, what their race, what they've gone through these years. And I think that's just wholeheartedly what you're doing and setting a platform for the kids. So I thank you for that. And we have 2 more questions from our YouTube page. So, and they're pretty good. So I'll start off with Nancy's. Thank you, Nancy, for tuning in as well. Rosemary, what do you think the next steps are in getting justice? This seems like a good talk about people in power that have failed to get justice for Black and brown people in Humboldt County, whether that be police officers, judges, the leaders in our courthouse, etc.
Yes, I would say to be resilient and your voice for justice. We've been fighting now for 3 years to see justice for Josiah, and we won't stop. We are going to continue to be resilient. We're going to continue to be vocal, and we are going to continue to hold those accountable who have the responsibility as public service providers, you know, to do what is right. And so really keeping on that momentum of, yeah, these people were arrested, but we need to have them indicted, because there have been officers arrested for the murders that they had done, and then there was no justice. There was a payout, there was a leave, but no one has been indicted, you know? And so I think that continuing the momentum towards the movement and remembering our morals and our source at the end of the day, who we align with, spiritually, and like remembering that and not letting people take us out of that place. I think that will help us in our fight for justice. And we've been fighting for so long, our ancestors have been fighting for so long, that we owe it to them to keep fighting. We owe it to our children and our youth to keep fighting this fight, because I won't rest until Black and brown bodies feel safe and heard and held in this world.
Thank you. I think that's very mature, and especially with just, I think, working with kids, you work with youth. I think you just think of what they're coming into, what's the next step. And I think it's kind of cheesy when you're like, what am I leaving behind? But I think that's a huge thing. You have opportunity, as all of us as youth educators, leaders, mentors, teachers, we have that opportunity to set that platform and just know what right is wrong. And I think it's huge to just fight for the justice, because I think that's the huge thing you're saying, is just fight what's right. And I think that's really what you're trying to get. And I think the difference in the rallies and how they went through each day really showcases that too, because I kind of tuned in and watched both since I couldn't attend. But last question that one of our coworkers, Shay, she would want to know kind of how us as Two Feathers can do as an agency to support this movement, and how we can bring awareness.
Well, I want to thank you, because you're doing it. You're creating conversation, you're creating platform, you're uplifting Black voices who are silenced by the dominant narrative. And so you're already doing it as a foundation, as an organization, creating platform for the youth to be involved safely, not, that they're out there protesting, but that they have this forum via YouTube that you connected them with. And yeah, there's always been solidarity, as I felt solidarity here with Native American peoples, especially those, fighting for justice for Josiah, and vice versa. Like, I was there when the Tuluwat, was given back, the land was given back. And, I feel like that is what makes us powerful, that we could be present in each other's movements, that we can uplift each other's voices, and that we can stand in solidarity, understanding that we do live a very similar lived experience. And so I appreciate the organization that you guys are a part of for uplifting Black and Brown voices, and understanding that Black Lives Matter, and letting me have the ability to speak from my personal experience here. So thank you again for allowing us this time, and doing this for the youth, because it is a conversation that needs to be continued to have. Next week we'll see less people inclined to have these conversations, but we need to keep pushing for these conversations.
Yeah, thank you so much for everything you talked about. I'm so happy to have you on today, and to kind of wrap it up for everybody out there. I just learned a old African proverb for one of the old speakers that we had, Dr. Howard Fuller. He said, "Until the story of the hunt is told by the surviving lions, the story will always glorify the hunter." And that was something I think is happening right now. We are the surviving lions, and we have to talk for our fallen people, for both Black and Indigenous. So I'm glad we are able to have that platform to talk to you guys. I'm glad Rosemary was on here to talk with us. Thank you guys, everybody, for your questions. Rosemary, anything else you want to say before we end it? I'm so happy to have you on here.
I just want to say thank you. I just want to encourage the youth to have these conversations. I want parents to be unafraid of the conversations and the real brute questions that are going to be asked, because they will make us feel uncomfortable. We will not know the answers, but it is our responsibility to the youth to continue to answer these questions. Like, if we don't have an answer, look for a voice that does, or echo the voice that may have spoken their lived experience. And, just want to let the youth know that we're here to provide a better future, because their life matters. Their Black lives matter, their brown lives matter. And just, yeah, that it's hard, and to take care of yourself. We're in the midst of a global pandemic on top of our years of fighting for equity, and to be seen and to have justice for our ancestors and loved ones and community members that have been murdered by the police state. So remember to drink water, take your vitamin C, wash your hands, cry if you need to cry, mourn, because it's hard. So just understanding that I'm with you, and we're also just doing this as everything's unfolding. No one has the answer. If we did have the answer, things would be way better than they are. So we're all as a collective trying to figure out our next moves. And I think that there are multiple people and leaders who have different tactics, and we just need to figure out what aligns with us and our soul.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. Ellen, Amada, anything else you want to say to Rosemary before we wrap it up?
Just thank you for being on, and I appreciated having this conversation today.
Same to me. I very much appreciate just being able to have this platform, finding people that are like, yes, right on. We have contacted you literally yesterday. So this is really going good. I think it just shows that what we're standing for, what everybody's doing. So thank you again.
Thank you.
So that is the end of our talk. Don't worry, we'll try and contact Rosemary. We'll try to have her on as much as possible, so you'll see some more of her. make sure you guys check out on Two Feathers Facebook page. We are continuing our speaker series. Virgil will be on there at 1 o'clock. So right after this, go onto our YouTube. We make sure you guys check out our Instagram. We've both our Two Feathers Instagram and our Two Feather Next Generation Instagram. They're awesome. If you guys have any other questions, anything you guys want to talk about, Two Feathers, please let us know. Ellen says she's done. Amanda says she's done. I'm tired. I'm gonna go take a nap. So thank you guys for having us on, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.